There we are. So, Ollie, hello.
Hey, greetings.
How are you?
Sorry, let me. Good, blessings.
It's so nice.
Pleased to meet you.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited. I'm sitting in the same spot I was earlier because it was so nice. But I feel like I should change. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Just having a wonderful day so far. I
Okay.
wanted to be outside too, but it's like 100 degrees here in New Mexico. So,
It's really hot here
um,
too. I'm excited. That's why I'm like, for the first time, like without shirts on and like friends, I'm like, yes, this is what we need.
family.
Yeah. So yeah, it's so nice to be here and like with you, getting to know you. I'm like so excited because I've been talking to a lot of the people that just came up. I wanted to kind of hear
Crazy.
everybody's journey, like even before we start, like the event together. So I mean,
It-
yeah.
That's the way it should be. Family getting to know each other. What's your name, by the way, brother?
I don't know, Fabian, whatever you
Yeah.
prefer.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good to know. I'm Jesse.
Jesse.
Pleased. Very pleased.
So, how did you get to like be a Jesse? I mean, I know. No, 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 no. How did you get to be like the new Jesse maybe? Because like it feels like in the realms of like all the spirituality there's a newborn baby always.
Well, it's interesting you should say that because that's the way I feel about this pranic process is that it's actually in a way going back to that uh, young child.
Ah,
I think I think our higher self is our inner child, and
yeah.
the more I breathe, the more I fast, and it opens up my belly. It's like a bodily memory of being a child and breathing naturally and being more in that ecstatic state, just naturalistically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
it's pretty cool.
cool. I think just
But
playful, but at the same time for a lot of people it goes through like that's why maybe you call it a journey, but it's not really a journey, but it could go through like the trauma of being a child as well, like where all the emotions are coming up and everything, especially in dry fast stuff or whatever.
totally, 100%. But to answer your question, I mean, it really started for me about 11 or 12 years ago, and I was having just some issues with my body from standard American diet, and I was eating organic and stuff. I've been a permaculture gardener, and landscaper for, oh, I don't know now, 20 years.
Yeah.
But I started to have trouble, and I was also dealing like with my mental wellness, and I had dropped my practice of meditation, but I came back to meditation and sun gazing and got into raw food thanks to my wife and some friends, and had heard about breatharianism, and it had really excited me, partly through the sun gazer teacher HRM that I was following.
Yeah.
Um, but it just led me onward. I didn't even think I'd ever get to this point, but meals started dropping away, wanting more liquids, and then about 4.5 years ago, or 5 years ago, I started working with dry fasting. And about 4.5, I moved to full liquiditarianism.
Okay.
Um, so, you know, to answer your question,
That's like 5 years ago. Yeah, so you've been on the journey. And
yes, indeed.
yeah, that's like funny. Like for me, I don't think I've been like that long on the journey, but it does feel like I have been forever on the journey as well. Like, I mean, I think the journey is a way to like just get back to like nothing really, like just like being here and not having a journey anymore, just being free. So it's always
That's
interesting.
totally
We talk about journeys, and it's always like that, but then in the end, it's like, well, not really, because there we are, we're still here, and It's just a matter of expressing and being with it there, here, whatever. No.
100%. I totally agree with that. It is a journey, but it is that thing of like, you know, I like the Taoist saying, you know, if you're depressed, you're thinking about the past.
Hmm.
If you're anxious, you're thinking about the future.
Yeah.
And if you're happy, it's because you're in the present, you know. So
Yeah. To me, it's like the journey was maybe like an illusion, whatever, but it's really hard today to be sad. Like I'm real. Like, I mean, I know I was talking with some other people who might were saying that maybe like it was like a repressed thing in myself, but I don't really know. Like I don't know. To me, what feels like uh is that it's not hard to be joyful. It's easy actually. I think it takes more energy maybe to like be in this or that emotion than just being joyful and here.
to just be a flow of emotions and to just be in the flow, you know, be like the river flowing, you know, that's been the unfolding, we'll say, maybe for me, you know, is that it's like, you know, it's returning, it's, you know, ever present, it's a journey, it's all those things all at once, you know, where it's all in continuity and it's all continuing, but to bring in these practices, like you said, it's like, I think it's a lot more natural for us to be joyful, to be healthy, you know, to be balanced than it is for us to be
Yeah.
in pain, you know. But that too, like in the words of, you know, the Buddha, nirvana is in samsara, the seed of nirvana is in samsara.
I love that. This is so beautiful. Like most people should realize that the goal is not to go somewhere else in another dimension. It's just to be here.
This is the access point for other dimensions. We can't go to other dimensions without being here, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
that's great. Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's like there's always the mind trying to find ways to like, oh, it's cute. I love it. Yeah. But actually, this is good that we're saying that because I think we're gonna be like talking about our journeys, I think, but also we might talk about the Pranic Feast and because that's the big event. But like this Pranic Feast where we're coming together to like kind of feast on prana or dry fast if you want to go like very negative, but it's actually not hard. Like it's gonna be as hard as you want it to be, but just like you were saying, it's just like it is. It actually is not hard, and the power of the group is gonna probably help and uplift and show that. But like, yeah, I've been doing this for every 2 months now. You know, every month or every 2 months, I'm doing those things, and I know many people that are just doing it every all the time or whatever. You know, so it's not like no one should be afraid. No one should think like it's gonna be like a high level thing that's just not for me. I think this Panic Feast is not just for breatharians or whatever. I think what we're trying to like say is like everybody who feels the call, it's for them. That's it. Everybody can do it.
We're all breatharians.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like we're creatures of pleasure and creatures of habit.
Yeah.
So we've been habituating to things that are pleasurable, but oftentimes what's pleasurable takes you away from deeper pleasures, you know.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, I mean, like with respect to dry fasting, I know when I first got into it, and right now I'm actually on day 19 of dry fasting 23 hours a day and then doing liquids for an hour a day. And my body feels more at ease. My consciousness feels more at ease. I'm just a little more, you know, I'm a triple Aries and I'm sort of hyperactive normally, but I just feel like more calm, like setting in and into my, and it's like bodily. It's not just, it's consciousness too, but it's like my whole body just feels more calm and at ease. And it's a great relief in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You know, even though I've been on this extended liquid fast for 4.5 years, that's not too rough, you know. But this is another level of like joyful ease. And so I'm just appreciative and glad to be in community too, because a lot of this journey for me has been, somewhat lonely, because my family is all eaters, and at first when I was eating raw, and they were eating whatever, that I was feeling a sense of separation, but I realized that that was my own consciousness grasping at control, and that's part of what I see through this journey too, is like relinquishing control, realizing that if you just go with the flow of your life,
Yeah.
that it will guide you to exactly the perfect best
I
place.
know, I know. We were doing like one meditation with because I was practicing mostly with Sadhguru at Isha, and there was one meditation that Sadhguru was doing, which I was like, okay, sure, we're gonna do it. It's a visualization meditation of like, you have to kind of visualize what the dream life you want, So you just close your eyes, you start visualizing what it is you want. And I don't know why, but in this meditation, I just could not visualize something else than this here. And I'm like, this is probably the experience that a lot of people always start having. It's like, this is exactly what it is you want.
You're awesome, brother. That's totally it. I feel like, it's like, that's something else that's been a note on my journey, is like this hope, this striving, like what the Buddhists call blind striving, where there's something you think you want, and you're trying to manifest it by holding it in your mind, but it's actually creating more resistance to the natural flow of your life, which is what I like the Taoist concept of Wu Wei, of do nothing, how many times do we get in our own way,
I know. I mean, today, like, yeah, I mean, there's still like some people that do think that here there's a body and something that actually is conscious. And, but most of the time, I'm the guy that's behind the website, Pranic Family, and like coding stuff. Sometimes I'm organizing something, sometimes I'm coding, or sometimes I'm talking, or sometimes there's this, but there's no feeling of like, wow, I'm really responsible for everything. Like, actually, when I look at the things that are being done, it's like, no, it's not me. If it was me, I wouldn't be able to do this. I'll stay in bed and just cry on myself. But now it's like, oh, wow, it's just happening. You're not
Yeah, not forcing. My brother says love is like a fart. If you have to push, it's probably shit.
Oh no. I guess that's like, yeah, that's a fun
That's a bad one, but it speaks to truth,
it is.
that this forcing, that's what this pranic life means to me, is this freedom, this letting go, and realizing you're always supported, and that there's this God source flowing through you, and you could just trust it,
Yeah.
So
What do you think about yeah, I mean, I love those talks because like it could go very quickly into like there's not need to say much, except being here. But if we just want to have fun and entertain our mind for like just 2 seconds, what do you do? For me, like it was kind of like when I was in the ashram that I started really like, this was a new concept to me. Like, let's observe the body as a puppet of the four elements. That was like, what? What did I just hear right now? I don't understand what's going on. And the more I searched, the four elements, I was like, yeah, I mean, the Buddha was right. It's just like, this is the most simplistic. I don't know if he's right. For me now, I'm like totally agreeing. Like, this is probably the most simplistic way to like understand there is no body here except like a bunch of like sensations playing around. What's your approach? Because I know you're going to be talking about the elemental work and all that. So like, what's your approach? How did you got to like connect with the elements? In what way?
well, I mean, literally, it's just like we've been talking about. I didn't contrive my life. I totally thought I would be a rock star, actually. I'm a drummer.
You
I'm
are.
a drummer.
You're a rock
So
star.
I wanted to be a drummer or a pro skater or something like that. But like my early life, I was, my folks split and they remarried, and the man my mom remarried was an amateur botanist.
Yeah.
well, it was very high level though. And so he was teaching me botany from the time I was very young, and then, I had experiences with vision medicine, that really opened up like my spirit and my mind to the potential for authentic spiritual experience, not something from church or from, outside, but something that was just,
Okay.
spontaneously arising through nature, through me, and through natural elements. And eventually that led me to this strong commitment and wish to, serve and help heal all beings
Hmm.
and the world, seeing that through some of these experiences, seeing that human beings aren't bad for the world, but our way was not, in the words of the Tao, not conducive to the Tao. It's not in harmony with the Tao.
Yeah.
So I started studying permaculture and have been, like I said, doing that for 20 years. And so I was really in the forces of the four elements all the time,
Yeah.
Under the sun, in the air, working with the water, working with the earth.
Yeah.
And then as I moved into my healing, that was there. I was following Dan McDonald, who talked about the Essene Gospel of Peace, where Jesus was teaching about healing with the angels of earth, wind, fire, and water.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
That you can get healing just by being out in the sun. You can get healing by being in the water.
Yeah.
You can get healing from the food of the earth, and grounding and getting mud on your body,
Yeah.
through the air, through breath work, so it just started to become, and there was some other teachers along those lines too, like Daniel Vitalis, who was a raw foodist. Now he's a hunter and stuff like that, but whatever, bless him, he's a good guy. And he was sharing this whole teaching as well of like, you can empower and ennoble yourself with the four elements. And so, I started, after watching him, I started going barefoot every day. So every day working in the garden barefoot, hiking barefoot, every day under the sun, in the good, fresh, clean air, getting more into like the fruits and fruitarianism and all that, like the living water inside of fruits and raw veggies and biophotons, that thing of fire, the photons from the sun, the biophotons from the food, just making the body more electric, and that I remember eating a salad with my wife once and just basically like getting high. I was like laughing and just like, oh, this is amazing. And she was like looking at me like, but, so
happened.
yeah. And so it's just been a natural unfolding, putting myself in the four elements and being with the four elements and thinking of them as healing angels and working with them in that way. And, that's something also in the Buddhist tradition of like harmonizing the four elements within your body, because this body is made of earth, wind, fire, and water. It could also be said to be solid, gas, liquid, and energy. But literally, like, your body is composed of these foods you've eaten, this earth element. It's composed of the sunshine. And actually, I've been talking with this lady who's a clinician, researcher, talking about exclusion zone water, which is this fourth phase of liquid crystal water in your body that creates like a battery between a positive charge and a negative charge, on either side, and that you actually get more energy from that than you do from ATP, from actually eating and transforming food, so that there's just all these elements have, chi or prana, and immersing yourself with them and interacting with them, is this whole beautiful experience of feeling the support of nature and your own resilience and potential. And
Mhm.
So I think that's what this is too, is an unfolding and uncovering of our greater potential, not just in things we can do, but more in like the experiential aspect. So
It really is. I'm like really into like it's not the perfect way to say it, but like I think the journey going back to, it tries to get away from the material and then it goes back to the material in a way.
mhm.
Even if material is not the right way, but to say it, but
I'm looking at a spirit right now, in other words,
yeah,
you know, like,
but everywhere.
yeah,
That's the thing. It's not necessarily, yeah, it's
yes.
it's all of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people in our community, people thinking about like ascension and stuff, they're trying to get away from the pain of the earth plane. And I think some of that is what's going on in their body and their consciousness, stuck thought forms or ways in which we've been inculcated, literal obstruction from foods that are not as healing and serving in terms of, uh,
Yeah.
cleansing the lymph, cleansing the
Well,
gas air
I think
machine.
it's also just the quest of. It's not necessarily that much. Yeah, I guess you could call it that way. But to me, I see this as like, it's a mind dream. Not even
Hmm.
what we talk about with the four elements has serious reality other than the mind. So I mean, what's happening with the ascension and some of the people like looking up to seeking other escapes, whatever. I think it's more like it's still like a quest. It's just the quest of the ego that just find another angle to become God. And it's like, oh, there you go. He's very happy because right now he's gonna be I am, and he's so happy about it. But in the
And
end, there's no I am and there's nothing at all. There's just nothing. It's just Prana.
well, and as you said, it's like, I mean, I feel like, I came across this idea in the Law of One, that basically God splintered itself into a million pieces to have more varied experience, you
Yeah.
know. So when we have these sort of egoic, uh, or more material or maybe more dense feeling and experiences, it's part of the contrast for us to grow in the light, and that it's all perfect. It's all, you can't, we're all trying to look at God or become God in a different way, but we're already there, as you said earlier, you know,
Yeah, and
and these
it's
are all just,
perfect. It's perfect. Like, for example, if you want to play with the elements, you can play with them. But to the mind, that's the weird thing about the mind. Like to the mind, it seems logical that we should be judging hot and cold. But
mhm.
that's so stupid. It's like, why would you judge that? It's like judging blue and red. Why would you do that? So I think the elements really helped me in that way because it put everything like at this level of like it's a play, but there's no need to like be going more for one or the other, you know. So that's how I look at
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the mind, I feel like the mind and the ego serves a divine function of like you need some judgment, like between your left foot and your right foot, just to walk across
Yeah.
the floor, you know,
Mm.
um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or to avoid burning yourself, or what have you. Even those things, I think the mind can transcend, you know. But I really like this idea from like Chinese traditional medicine that your heart, they call your mind your heart mind because your mind is going good, bad, left, right, hot, cold, but in your heart,
There's none of
uh,
that. Yeah.
there's no judgment. And when you know something in your heart, you know it. There's
I know.
no,
So powerful. It's just like you can't escape it. That's the one thing. It's just like when you go to the heart and then you're like, you cannot. Like when sometimes I do meditation, whether you do meditation with other people or if I do it, even if I do it for other people, I'm not. I'm really doing it for myself. I go down the heart. I try to ask me the question. I ask the question, is like, what's, what's, is there like a limit to the space of here? It's just so you cannot say, yes, there is a very limit. There's a beginning, there's an end, we're all going to die. No, it doesn't say that. And it's like very, very violent for like the mind. The mind gets very frustrated with the heart.
I also like this idea of like the brain is an excellent servant and a terrible master, you know, uh,
No, yeah, yeah, that's how.
where it is, and this sort of the studies that come from the Heart Math Institute that when you actually have brain heart coherence,
Mm,
you have this higher functioning, like even your electromagnetic field and your aura is more like complete and resonant, a more resonant frequency, a resonant field, so that your thoughts and your heart are connected. Because I think that's a lot of the pain that people go through is this disconnection, you know.
Well, let's talk. She asked a question, Camila. She said, do you get burned, or is it the mind telling you that fire is danger? Like, yeah, you probably, because you studied the Buddha, you probably can make a difference between pain, like the pain body, and suffering.
Mhm. I mean, it's either, neither, and both, in the words of the alchemists,
Okay.
that those things that are painful to us, I think, in life, whether it's emotions or physically being burned or something like that, it's instructive of what we don't want, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so we don't want to, just like burn ourselves willy-nilly and totally disregard, like the ego, like I said, serves this divine function of like actually uh, bringing you to your fulfillment, bringing that God's splinter, its unique uh, experience to impart to the whole,
Yeah.
you know. And so, like, yes, you get burned, but there's things like the yogis in India who will like walk across fire, for instance,
Yeah.
not feel heat and not get burned, because the mind, they understand that the mind, you know, this is a quantum field generator, and so what we believe to be true becomes true. Um, but that isn't to say to disregard what your body's telling you, what your mind is telling you. It's more of a practice that you move into
Yeah.
this deeper understanding that through being connected with your source within your heart mind, that you're protected.
Yeah. There's that. Yeah. There's that. It's a deeper knowing. To me, that was more obvious the day I went to Costa Rica. I cut myself. I don't know if you can see with a machete.
Oh yeah.
I cut myself with a machete almost to the bone, opening a coconut. That was my first time. I was like, that was my first time. I was like, oh, there you go. I didn't know what happened, but like when I cut it, like it's just a little bit of blood that came, and I saw it. But as soon as that happened, and I was with Tanya, one of the girls who was with us in the Pranic Family, we were like meeting together in Costa Rica, and like we just do those hangouts in the world, and like I was with her, and I was like, I just started laughing at it, and then you don't have a moment to think. It's just what's happening. Like automatically, like the body goes to the water because the ocean was nearby. Apparently, the hand is going into the water because that's what consciousness knows what to do, whatever it's trying to do. And then there is no pharmacy or hospital. Just do this, do that, boom. And I actually didn't go to the hospital. It just healed itself. I just looked at it all day. In like 2 hours, it was just like it was just stitching itself. And like, just because I was just joyful and happy about it, I was just laughing about it. It wasn't like at all like a difficult experience. It was actually really pleasant. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel the same with like, yeah, simple thing like stinging nettles. Like,
Mm-hmm.
sure, they're gonna have like their little like nice little sensation on the skin, but if you observe the sensation, you're not the sensation, and you're just like enjoying the show.
Absolutely. I love stinging nettles. That's, one of my power plants, I say, because uh, I just have an affinity for it.
Yeah.
And I think, part of it is, people don't realize those formic acid crystals that sting you are full of like serotonin, norepinephrine. They're, they're,
Wow,
they're,
that's
they're
powerful.
actually, yeah, they're actually, neurotransmitters. And so that also begs the question, well, those neurotransmitters are in the plant. What are they doing there? Consciousness,
Yeah, but
right?
like when you're saying this, it goes back for me to like the Buddha saying like, it's all suffering. And like we're doing this feast, like the 3.5 days pranic feast. For most people, this is like torture, you know? And in reality, like as we go through the flow of the 3.5 days of like no food, no water, there will be so many sensations in the body, in the mind, emotions, and now, when we're talking about stinging nettles or myself cutting myself, basically what we're saying is just like, yes, say yes to sensations because that's what gives you existence. That's the
Hmm.
stuff. And when you say yes to that, it's no longer suffering, I think.
Absolutely. That's the idea of like, nirvana seed is in samsara. The Buddhists also talk about the two-in-one flavor, the things we're averse to and the things we're attracted to, you know, the together. It's like they liken it to a soup. Like you could have a soup of a juicy tomato, that's sweet and everything, and that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But if you put a stinky onion in with it too, then it becomes more flavorful, you know. Um, so these contrasts are judgments, and what the pain we experience that Buddha talked about is our attachment to those, either your aversion or your attraction, instead of acceptance of what is in the moment, as a
Yeah.
continuous flow from that place of observer, like you're saying, where you're just, allowing all this to proceed, moving more into that space of allowing. I feel there's like a huge part of the breatharian or slash pranic experience is that, instead of trying to contrive it, hold it, a lot of people trying to manifest and visualize and everything, like they want this, and they're grasping at it, um, and then they wonder why it's not coming in, instead of just being like, well, here I am with this and this, I want this and this is what is, and you know, I'll just allow it to be, then the suffering stops because the resistance stops, you know, and and this is a self-organizing energy field, so self-healing, like your thing with the cut, like even they've shown in hospitals the healing potential of things like Reiki, or
Oh yeah.
Qigong to transform serious disease, you know.
I mean, we don't. We just. I mean, I think for me now, I went the ashram going into synchronicity and all this, spiritual like mumbo jumbo. And now, when I come down off of this drug, of spirituality, the calm down has to take some time. But anyway, uh, now I'm just like opening my hand is just like a whole synchronicity. It's just like every time you open your hand, it's like you don't realize like this is the most sophisticated synchronicity there is. You're opening a hand. Do you realize that? And like every Reiki thing that we call it Reiki, we're constantly doing it. Like I'm just doing this because of that. It's constantly everywhere to everything. And
Mhm.
we don't notice that. We have to call it like, oh, let's go into a room. I'm just gonna lie you here and do this with my hands. But we're doing it throughout the day.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there is that thing of like, uh, there is intention. There's
Ah,
the importance of intention for healing, self or others. Um,
yeah,
there's, kind of sloppy manifestation
yeah.
versus skillfulness,
Yeah,
you know.
that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Um,
respect that.
and not to call it this or that, either or so much, but because it all comes around. But I really, I also really resonate with like the Taoist ideas of like this, this conversation is kind of going there of like, the yin and the yang,
Mm.
that, there's this, or positive and negative, however you want to, put it, um, that to go with the flow of the way, and that there is, a naturalness that we can drop into, that's in this flow, um, similarly to that two-in-one flavor, but um, you know, through practice and learning skillfulness, we start to see ways in which we can align with the way, instead of being,
In the
you
way.
know,
In the
in
way.
the way. That's a good way to put it. Absolutely. Yeah.
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 That's beautiful. I mean, it is like it's a contracted energy. Like this whole thing of like life is just constantly contracted, and all we gotta do is just like continuously try to relax. Just try to relax in it. Relax in the contraction. It's okay.
Right.
Yeah. But you don't have to
Yeah.
go die either. Like so many people are just trying to like, do like some escaping their body. I'm like, no, don't escape your body. You're good here. You're gonna
Yeah.
you're gonna escape it anyway. Don't worry about it.
It's an interesting thing because, especially coming from my Buddhist bent of like, nirvana and liberation,
Yeah.
I do believe honestly that it comes through this dimension, through the third dimension. People are all talking about 5D and 4D but how do you think you access that? You have to go through the dimension you're in,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think of in the Tibetan adepts who do and other adepts who've done like rainbow body transformation, where
Yeah.
their body literally becomes rainbow light, and
Mm.
that you and I are beings of light. You're a collection of, atoms and quanta, protons and electrons and everything buzzing around more than you are any sort of dense material
Yeah.
object. Things are only dense because the mind makes it dense. I can only like sit on this cushion here because my mind believes there's something to sit on,
I'm gonna get my
but
battery, but I'm listening. But I'm getting my battery because I have 5%, and I'm like, I don't want to cut this discussion. Go ahead.
good plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's more, there's like this adeptness, the skillfulness that we can cultivate with our intention through observation, and that's, that fourfold path of Buddhism of like, seeing
Satipatthana.
that there is suffering in the world,
Yeah.
that life has suffering in it, but the cause of that suffering is our inappropriate desire, our attachment, and that there's a way to relieve the suffering by releasing that attachment. And that path is the Eightfold Path, of right speech,
Yeah.
right knowledge, right behavior, effort, right livelihood,
Yeah.
right mindfulness, right absorption. So, this talk we started with of like this journeyless journey, there are skillful means to a higher experiential, experience. And, that to me is what this pranic life is about. It's, and in terms of Buddhism, moving towards breatharianism, there's so many examples of yogis, not just Buddhist, but also, Jewish adepts, Christian mystics, across time who have released food, and through like tapping into that more like ecstatic inner sense that you're bubbling with. I love to see energetically, you're just like bubbling with this happy, joyful energy, and that this is, like you said, much more natural to us. And I think we're all going there in terms of like quote unquote ascension, is that the way I understand it astrologically, the Kali Yuga was us going away, this elliptical orbit around the galactic center was we were going away from the galactic center, and 2012 was coming back around into it. And we're being washed in streams of light that are waking up our DNA and helping us remember ourselves, that we are gods on this plane, and we can create our reality. And through practice, we, have this potential that can open up.
Yeah, there's something about practice though that the mind really doesn't like though. Like it's got a problem with discipline, And for me, I'm trying to recreate this. Like we haven't talked much about yet what we're planning about the Pranic Feast and all that. We should, but like the plan with the Pranic family and like this group, you know, it's not the plan. I don't want to say that because there's not me plan, but
Intention.
yeah, it's like when I was living in the ashram with Sadhguru and all that, like it's so beautiful to see like 4,000 volunteers like together. They don't have objectives of their own. They're just like playing with each other in a way, but with some sacredness and some discipline. And just like it's like could the Western world be something like that eventually? Like that's kind of my dream. Is like, okay, I think we can bring the ashram home, everybody, but can we just all like hop on the practice regularly and like kind of respect some stuff?
That's very key. It's very key.
Yeah.
We have to be in respect and integrity with our own selves and with one another if we're going to move forward. And to be disciplined is to be a disciple of yourself. It's to get what you want.
Yeah, you never show up for us. Like, actually, that's a big point. Like this Pranic feast, not because there's a lot of like cool people that are part of the feast doing like a bunch of practices. It's not for them you're showing up. It's for yourself. You have to. Even myself, like it's really for yourself that you're showing up.
And if you do that work, then as quantum generators, then we're putting that into the field and creating that in the world.
Yeah. You know, yeah. I tried to convince people when I got back, you know, you go back to regular life, you're like, oh, I understood something about God. Anyway, that didn't work. But as I started dry fasting and like, you know, just like being myself, my dad started dry fasting with me. And since last year, he has not missed one Sunday dry fasting. Like he's the only one in the whole Pranic family that's never missed one day since last year. And I'm like, wow, he's not showing up on the camera, but he's doing it. He's showing up for himself.
Well, it's the thing of whether it's forced or not. You know, if it's not forced, then it's something you go gladly into, you know? It's something you go joyfully into. That's been the experience for me is like, I didn't really plan this, you know, so much. But this is what my true self wanted, you know?
There's a call.
And so I'm just following my nose, in other words, you know, and I've been called to it, and it's something that is joy, brings so much joy and health and energy into my life that like doing the discipline is no trouble.
It is not. Yeah, it's like not. It's like not. It's freedom. It's actually freedom.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's fun, you know, it's really, I think of, you know, being a drummer, like at first I had trouble like being consistent about practicing, like, oh, I don't want to practice, you know. And I got with a group of people who were really fired up and we were all really good. And all we wanted to do was practice. We didn't even have to like, you know, the commitment was there just because, like you were saying, you know, this is like, for me, this is like, gives me joy, you know. I like another thing Buddha says is if we could make one person happy and that was ourselves, then we'd have world peace.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
We don't have to change anyone. We don't have to change anything. We can't change anything outside of ourselves.
Yeah, I know.
It's a delusion of the ego.
As I'm working, you know, on the website of the Pranic family, it's like you have those, and everybody's the same probably that might feel that way. You have those like, you know, weird ideas of like, oh, we actually really need to do this, or we really need to get there, or to do this thing, or I need to fix that, or I gotta help this, or that. But then there's always this in me that's no matter how the mind tries to twist things, I'm still like, I know how not serious this thing is, you know, like it's for myself that I'm doing it. I'm not actually trying to help anyone. I'm having so much fun doing what I'm doing. Like sometimes I'm going to take my tent and camp naked, like alone in the forest. Then I'm going to be on the computer, like coding like a geek. And then I'm going to go and act like the son that's the father and all that. But it's just like fun to do all those things. It's not like any serious thing. So it's kind of like I said, going back to being a kid and playing roles. We're playing a bunch of roles, but there's no need to be serious about it.
Well, think about that vibe of when you are a kid. Like you just run up on the playground to whomever and be like, "Hey, you want to play?"
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
versus adults who are all like serious and guarded, and you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's where we're headed. I'm excited about it. It's something I've been long waiting, for to be, because I think in our adulthood we could have just as much joy as when we were children, and even more so at a higher level, you know.
Yeah, I
Um,
think so. Yeah, totally.
but and bringing these things in that people could call discipline, you know, um, is, like I said, just to be a disciple of yourself, to get what you want,
Well,
you know.
actually, maybe I meant the discipline also, like, because, as I'm writing things and I see how, like, the mind goes through trouble, it's just like, as we're practicing being sad, if anybody who is here listening or whatever and wants to join our Pranic Feast and other things, we're doing a lot of practice because, like, this is what I discovered for myself. If you want to be happy, you got to practice. It's so weird to say that, but, like, actually, you have to practice being joyful. Then it's just natural because you've been practicing being sad your whole life. So, yeah, the adjustment take time and it's just painful. It appears that way. But then it's like, actually, you realize that, yeah, being joyful is not that hard. Yeah.
The neurons that fire together wire together. So the more we practice these things, that was something that came in for me big time, because I was having a hard time. I dealt with depression and stuff like that,
Okay.
and moving into, like, practicing sun gazing, practicing meditation, taking care of my body with the right foods, exercising. I could feel that it was just feeling better. It just felt happier,
It's
and
lifting you up. It's like, yeah,
mhm.
it's rich.
And I think of joy practice is like the most important part of this, like, breatharian experience. It's like, that's also what I've researched with respect to health, is like, that's one of the most key parts of health, is having a happy heart, having some stillness in your heart too. Not being overly excited. We're so stimulated culturally. Even the things that excite us can overexcite us. The demon of enthusiasm, in so to speak, where we're sort of undone by our excitement. It's that balance, point,
Yeah.
where we can just feel joy, feel stillness, feel a full range, and be centered, and be in our source and in our truth, without contrivance, without pretense, but just flowing, like you were saying.
Yeah, that's just what happens.
Yeah. This life's meant to be.
Yeah, it's actually now fun because I'm like, even when I'm angry, I'm like super happy to be angry, and it's quite nice. You get angry and then you watch yourself, and then you're like, oh, I could go that way too. I'm gonna go full force. And that, unfortunately, I'm trying to be careful not to do it with. I try not to hurt anything or anybody, but it's part of
Well, yeah, the Tibetans say there's no such thing as a bad emotion.
it.
That
Yeah,
essentially, it's all energy, but it's a matter of how can you skillfully channel that emotion,
yeah,
and non-violently, channel that emotion, so that the outcome is better for everyone. So it's because we're mutually interdependent, and we're all reflections of each other. We're all connected as one, and so when you bring someone a smile, they're going to bring a smile right back.
so easy. Yeah, it's like if you're
And
angry,
if you,
someone is angry. Yeah, it's like such a mirror. It's lovely.
Mhm.
Oh my God, I love it.
I love how smiley and happy you are. You are good at practicing that joyfulness, brother. I
Yeah,
see it in you. It's great. It's very, very a pleasant reflection.
it's really hard to like, be happy, but I'm trying sometimes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, and it's actually, that's what I said, like the more you practice it, the more it's like actually become it's the opposite. Now it's hard to go back. That's so
Mhm.
strange. Like, and I know I heard sometimes some people because they are in that state of depression or whatever, and I have to try to understand and have compassion, but at the same time, it's like it's yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard. It's not hard. Like this is me like trying to be hard now.
Well, compassion doesn't mean you have to go in it with them.
Yeah, that's
You
it.
know,
Yeah, yeah,
it's more like someone's in a hole and you put your hand down to help bring them out,
yeah,
rather than go down into the hole, which is the confusion I think we have culturally, is that if you really want to
yeah,
help someone, you have to go down into the pain with them, and
totally.
that doesn't serve to actually help lift them up.
Yeah, that's
But your
powerful.
own vibration, being in that vibration, of your joy, can bring them up. So
I'm like so happy we had this discussion, but I know that I'm gonna have to prepare for the juice challenge, you know. I don't know if you saw, but
yeah,
like we're trying to do the juice challenges in like 5 minutes online, and
that's fine.
it's gonna be nice.
No, this
Yeah. 1 month of juice, and then we're gonna go a bit less than 1 month, and then we'll go into like the Pranic Feast. So
awesome.
anybody who just saw this, if you want to join the Pranic Feast, it's July 8th, and we're gonna be like 30 practitioners and like a bunch of, I mean, I think hundreds of participants. So it's gonna be really a powerful one. And I think we're gonna put the link in the description. So whatever. Pranic Family. That's it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's so good. I'm so pleased that you're doing this work and to just be connected with this Pranic family. And so pleased to meet you, Fabian.
Yeah, I am too, and I hope we meet in person. I don't know where, but we will. So thank you so much and have a good one. And I'll see you later anyway this month.
Awesome. Blessings, brother.
Yes, blessing to
Blessings,
you
family.
too. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.